So we are awaiting the president's remarks from the White House. We'll bring that to you when they begin. A U.S. Special Forces raid took place overnight in northwestern Syria, killing the top leader of ISIS. We are told no Americans were injured and that they all returned safely. As we await the commander-in-chief, I want to bring in Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin, member of the House Armed Services Committee. And, sir, thank you for your time today, and thank you for your service yet again. Your initial reaction to this, sir, is what?
It's a good thing. I commend the administration and our men and women in uniform for successfully carrying out this operation. Haji Abdullah was the emir of ISIS, and I think this is an important reminder that as we start to focus on China, our biggest long-term threat, as we try and deal with the threat posed by Russia and Ukraine, we can't take our eye off the ball in the Middle East. We still have terrorist groups that pose a threat to the U.S. homeland, and the threat from Salafi jihadism, more broadly, I fear is going to grow worse in the wake of our embarrassing surrender in Afghanistan. It will also grow worse if this administration gets back into the Iran deal, which will create chaos in the Middle East. So the Middle East is something you ignore at your own peril, even as we recognize that the Indo-Pacific is a more important region. But by and large, this is a good operation. I'm glad no one was hurt and that we got this guy.
Can I ask you to expand on something when you said that you were concerned that our withdrawal from Afghanistan, the way it went, could increase the problems that we have with ISIS?
Absolutely. Well, we know that it will increase our problem with terrorist groups more broadly. Remember, President Biden lied when he said that al-Qaeda was not present in Afghanistan as they tried to justify pulling out. Al-Qaeda helped the Taliban take over Kabul. While these groups compete in various domains over various geography, sometimes they cooperate, sometimes they don't. I think the success of the Salafi jihadist movement draws recruits globally into the region. And so that's what I'm worried about, as well as the fact that we now know that this concept of over-the-horizon counterterrorism, which is also how they sold the pullout in Afghanistan, was a lie. It's a mirage. It's not happening right now on the ground. So that's going to limit our ability to get after these groups.
Yeah, one more question on this withdrawal out of Afghanistan. I know you're on the House side, but your Senate colleagues have come out with a report that say that the Biden administration simply failed in the process of administering this correctly, managing the drawdown well. Here's what it says in part. The failure of senior Biden administration leadership to plan for this fateful day resulted in a rushed evacuation of hundreds of thousands of Americans, third country nationals, and Afghans. All right, we don't have that, so I'll summarize. They said it was a failure. It was painfully obvious to us when we were asking the questions of many members of the administration how they tried to twist their answers in a way that was acceptable. And I think the only conclusion you can draw is that the commander-in-chief says, we're out, we're going, figure it out. And they were left to deal as best as they could on the ground in Afghanistan. What's your view of it?
Well, we now know they had one meeting preparing for the withdrawal. That's completely unsatisfactory. They were asleep at the wheel. Our Secretary of State was on vacation in the Hamptons. This is embarrassing. And the buck ultimately stops with Biden. The president is still unrepentant about his actions in Afghanistan. A few weeks ago, he said, I don't apologize for anything in Afghanistan. And that's really what worries me, okay? Shocks happen to every administration. Mistakes are made. You have to learn from those mistakes. But this administration seems intent on pushing full steam with this approach. And I think it's fair to say our weakness in Afghanistan, the collapse of our position, is undermining our posture in other areas of the world, right now in Ukraine, and I fear over the long term with China. So this administration needs to change course before it's too late.
Though, Congressman, this operation that the president is about to address the nation on, it was successful. So somewhere the intelligence is working well. It might not be over the horizon capabilities, but this was successful, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that.
Well, we spent 2 decades really getting good at counterterrorism operation. We have an enormous wealth of expertise. Our special operators in particular know how to do this by, with, and through local partners on the ground. The concern is if you don't have that nested within a broader regional strategy as well as an overall grand strategy, and we still don't have a national security strategy from this administration, all you're going to be doing is playing whack-a-mole, particularly in the Middle East, and it won't add up to actually improving stability in the region. And as I mentioned before, if you layer onto that getting back in the Iran deal, well, then you're just going to have the Shiite terrorists sponsored by the Iranian regime going after the Sunni terrorists, and all our allies in the middle are going to suffer as a result, and you're going to have chaos in the region.
Mike Gallagher, thank you for your time. We're waiting on the president, and we'll see how he explains it to us and the American people momentarily.
Thanks so
sir.
much.